Hey everyone! Welcome back! I am back today with more Mob Psycho 100. You guys, I am really excited to see what happens next. If you're joining me early today, you know what it means. It means you are one of my awesome patrons. Thank you so much, and as always, I'm sending you up those big old hugs right through that screen. And if not, still thank you for joining me today. I'm glad you're here. I do hope you'll consider supporting me that way. The link to my Patreon is going to be in the description down below. So we had a very, very big episode of Mob Psycho last time. Ritsu has been kidnapped, all under the kind of like false pretense that he's actually Mob, because of what happened a few episodes back with him going to that lab and they thought it was his brother. And it was a great episode. It was great to see, like things really came to a head between Ritsu and Mob previously, with Ritsu kind of letting him know, like, which I think is not true, that he's like never really cared and he's just been scared of his brother. And I think he was really upset, and maybe there's a little bit of truth in that, but I don't think that he really feels that way about his brother completely. But still thinking of Mob being hurt by that, like thinking that it's true makes me hurt. We had a really great showdown between Mob and the person trying to kidnap Ritsu, who eventually he did succeed, unfortunately. And we had some of like the onlookers kind of realizing that Mob was actually the one who they had been calling like the white t-shirt guy and everything. But the kidnapper did not figure that out, so they're still under the impression that Ritsu is Mob and has that kind of ability and everything. So that's going to be interesting when they go to find that out, because Ritsu has been awakened, but we know like his powers were kind of being amplified by Dimple. He's not really... he's not on the same level yet as like Mob and Teru. Speaking of Teru, he's actually helping out, and they have decided, Teru was able to come in and give us all this info about this organization called Claw, which is this, evil, villainous organization that's taking ESPers and trying to... it basically, like, they're making soldiers out of like the younger ones and everything, but they are like manufacturing ESP abilities apparently. I'm still not completely clear on that, because Teru said like, yeah, they're not as powerful as us naturals. So did he mean the ESPers that they're kidnapping, or did he mean the ones that they're like, they can produce the ability, and it's like maybe not the same ability as like what Mob and Teru have, but they do have like some kind of ability. So they have decided to go after Claw, which is incredibly dangerous. And the last thing we saw was the whole group that had been kidnapped being taken to Claw headquarters. So very intense episode, lot of info, lot of just great epic, like the battles in this. Now that I know that this is all hand-drawn, it just gives me such a much greater appreciation for everything on this show, including the action scenes, because when you think about how intense those must have been to actually create, it's really, really impressive. I've also been getting a lot of great info from you guys about the character of Mob and some different ways to interpret him, and I'm so grateful for that, because it always gives me a better understanding of the characters to kind of like have that back and forth with you guys. So it's been presented to me that maybe, I had been seeing this as, okay, well, Mob, obviously we can see that it's directly linked to emotions, like his going to 100% and kind of like exploding from there, is very much linked to his emotions and how he handles them. But, it has been presented to me that like unknown percent, I had kind of seen it as, oh, there's like something else living inside of Mob that is like coming in and taking over. And while they haven't come out and said exactly what's going on there, I think a couple people have mentioned some really interesting ways to interpret that even that could be seen as like those emotions that are being pushed down and everything just coming out and taking over, and running rampant. So maybe I was taking it a little bit more in the literal sense of, oh, there's really like something else, like some kind of creature, you know, taking over Mob. But could that also just be a metaphor for the way he handles and processes his own emotions and what happens when they truly get out of control, like a percentage that is off the charts? So I love that they haven't like directly come out and said yet which one it is. They kind of leave it up to your interpretation. And I have been getting some really, really cool theories on how to interpret that. So I'm really enjoying the show. We are really making our way in season 1 here. I believe we're about to start episode 9 out of a 12 episode season. So we are just marching on through this season, and I gotta say, I love this show. I love the unique look and style, the feel of it. I mean, we are so far past like the comparisons to One Punch Man now. This is very much its own thing now, which I think is really impressive because I really was not sure if this was just going to be kind of like copy paste, like the same style and tone, but with like a different set of circumstances, and it could not be further from that. It's so unique now, like I have to remind myself this is even by the same people, you know. So they did a really good job with just setting it apart, and it's so very much its own thing. So they kind of left us on a cliffhanger last time. What do you say we go ahead and get started and find out what's going to happen next on Mob Psycho 100? Let's go. All right, you guys, that was so good. Let's talk about it. I'm really proud of Ritsu because he has this really great strategic leadership ability that we really got to see in this episode. Like, you know, first it seems like his plan only goes to a certain point, but then we find out, no, he needed it to look like they didn't know what to do and weren't powerful enough until they got to the blind spot with the camera. He really has, like, great leadership skills, and his powers did work, and they were very, like, pretty strong as well. I wonder if maybe using them so much with Dimple's help helped him, like, kind of build up his power, maybe? I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what the answer is. Like, he was just awakened, so maybe he's, like, really powerful, and he's just kind of like getting there progressively. I don't know. I said this a little bit during the end theme, but it feels like Mob. I've been calling him Mob. I know that his actual name is Shigeo, but I don't know. Like at first they just said like this is Shigeo, aka Mob, and I've been calling him Mob ever since. So, but he seemed a lot more okay with having to like take out bad guys in this one, even though he still showed like a lot of hesitation with like the torture scene and everything when they were trying to get info out of the one Scar. He even said in this last part, like, I don't have time to hold back. He just had to go for it, and just you know, we saw him with that kind of power that didn't quite look like the 100% power, but it definitely looked closer to that than what we usually see from him. So he's definitely getting more comfortable with using his power at a high level when he needs to, which in a way is good, but I wonder if they're going to come back and address it, like, is it a good thing that he's learning how to use his powers in moderation? Or is it going to be a thing where, like, the more he does it, you know, because of his mentality of, like, he almost kind of had sort of an all or nothing mentality about the powers. Like, he can just, like, barely use them, or he just kind of, like, goes out of control with them when he hits a certain level. Because of that mentality, is using them progressively going to be better or worse for him, I guess. It could be seen as a good thing that he's kind of like learning to use them in moderation. But I don't know. We'll see. It's really hard to tell. It is because we know he's just so powerful. It could really be a bad thing that he pushes it down so much because eventually, you know, he's going to explode. But on the other hand, the way that he processes things, will it be better or worse that he's kind of like using them in moderation now? It seems like we will see. So I'm really curious to see what happens next. I'm really scared that Ritsu's gonna get them all out of there before Mob and Teru and Dimple get to them, which I think would be just like, oh my god, very, very funny in an ironic way, but not funny. So we saw a little bit more of the Claw organization in this one. We saw, you know, kind of the mini bosses, as we'll call them, in this facility. We know there are many, and we know that there was a little bit of contact from like the head honcho, so I imagine we'll get to see him at some point. I don't know if that's going to be like a season finale thing here, or if they're going to stretch that out and we won't see that individual for a long time. But it's kind of cool to do like the world building. When they were all sitting around in the dark room, it did for a second remind me of like the hero organization in One Punch Man, where they like all sat around the table in that dark room for a meeting. But only this time it's their villains. But yeah, I'm happy to do some more world building and meet some more characters and everything. So, all right, we will see what happens in the next episode. Fingers crossed they just all meet up and get out of there. And but then there's still going to be the threat of Claw. Like they're still going to be after Mob. They're still going to be after other ESPers. So we're definitely going to have to deal with them at some point. Just not sure what that's going to look like yet. So, all right, guys, I had a blast with that episode. I hope you had as much fun with it as I did. Thank you so much for joining me. Please be sure to join me next time, and we will watch it together. Bye for now, guys.